one additional note, it would be just to pick up your cues a little quicker. There were sort of these, big pauses in between. Not every line, but a lot of the lines were sort of these big gaps you could sail a little ship through. And again, you want the characters to have enough passion for what they're talking about that they're, jumping on each other's words a little more.
Yeah, that makes it sound more involved too.
I think kind of the interesting thing to get used to is trying to process the information in the scene and visualize it and say the line right after the other person. I thought that was a little interesting to get used to.
Yeah, I mean, this is something common to particularly live theater, and I'd say that voice acting in a lot of ways has more in common with live theater than it does with on-camera television or movie production, where there's a lot of stopping and starting. And it's interesting because we certainly have plenty of stopping and starting in voice acting in a standard record. But the way the scenes play between characters, I think it's a much more theatrical, on stage theatrical kind of process than an on-camera kind of process. What we try to do is send the scripts out the night before, at least, to our actors who are performing in Spider-Man or whatever, so that they can come in. They have had the evening to read the materials and go through it, and some of them do.
I'm surprised how many don't.
Yeah, and many don't. I mean, in a lot of ways, voice acting is a fantastic gig. I mean, you make a decent little check. It's not huge, but it's a decent little check. And there's no costumes, there's no makeup, very little, if any, rehearsal.
You
don't have to memorize the lines. It's great if you're prepped, but you don't have to memorize because the scripting is right in front of you on a little music stand. A normal size music stand.
Tom gets a little one.
You're in and out of there in at most 4 hours, and usually considerably less. And you get, if it's a SAG show, oftentimes there'll be a buyout, so the check is a little bit bigger, and there are residuals. So it's a nice gig. But yeah, a lot of people do sort of come, and you can kind of tell the ones who prepared and the ones who don't. When I started in the business, a lot of times they would send out scripts that were just the lines of dialogue with none of the action written in, and it was, it was horrible because the actors didn't know what was going on visually in the scene.
For instance, the line with "thank you," you wouldn't have known that was you were getting a cup of tea. You're just like, "Thank you." Where's that? It's so strange. But going back to where you said about the you were asking, what was your question? What was the question?
Oh, it was about
of processing their lines.
Well, processing.
It's just like as if we're talking right now. You really have to be in the scene and thinking the whole scene while you're 5 lines before yours, because you have to feel what they're saying to you so you can respond.
It's just that tell me if you think I'm thinking about this too much, but I kind of have to almost read I have to kind of guess at the person who I'm trying to kind of play off of. I have to kind of guess about how fast he's reading the scene, and then I have to visualize that, and then I have to play off his energy right as he says it.
Well, you may be overthinking it. I think the simpler thing to do is just listen. And if you truly sort of get into that scene, then the how almost becomes secondary.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the scene and this person is talking to you like this, then your response is going to be in response to that level of energy. Whether your choice is to bring it down or to play against it or to build over it, that's has a lot to do with what it is you're saying. But what you really want to do is listen to the words so that your response becomes a natural response to what it is the person before you just is saying.
I try to do both. I try to look at the last couple words in their scene, and go, okay, gets the last word, and then get into the scene, listen to it. And so it just kind of, something goes off in your head, and those last couple of words, it's getting close to your time, but you're in the scene, so you're listening. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I see people show up that they haven't read the script, and I just can't imagine. I would feel so lost. People do it a lot.
Yeah, and they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And they do get away with it.
Yeah.
They don't fool anybody, but they get away with it. It just, makes the session go longer.
Yeah.
Because it means the first few readings are gonna tend to be, well, shit, because, they literally don't know what it is they're saying.
Yeah.
And so it just, makes everything take longer. We also ask everyone, that in a session to turn off their cell phones.
All of a sudden you're talking, you're over perfect timing.
That's what we call irony.
Beautiful timing.
That's an embarrassment.
Okay, I need 3 more volunteers. Rebel, back there. Looking for someone who hasn't read yet. One more who hasn't read yet.
Head with it.
Go for it. Okay. Your Uncle Ben.
Yeah. I can die.
Slash Spider-Man. And you are the symbiote. Now, what I want you to do in this scene in particular, label this, just go back and forth. And often they choose just to go back and forth like that, so that they can maintain the energy of the scene, even with themselves. Oftentimes I think, it winds up a little better that way. I'm not clear, is this over at 1?
It's over at 1.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes, we'll have time for a couple of questions. I do want to say that we have auditions for the radio play at 1:30 here in this room. Is that right?
Is it right, or is it 1:30, or is it right after this?
I got 1:30 down, but maybe someone check the schedule?
There's 1:30.
1:30, so, okay, so 1:30 we have auditions here for the radio play. For those of you who have not been to the gathering before, every year we perform a script that I've put together. It's sort of a voice actor performance. When we stand up, we don't act it out physically. I act as the narrator to fill in the blanks visually for the audience, but basically we get up and we perform. It's a great fun, and we'll have auditions at 1:30. We'll have a few more auditions tomorrow morning.